Hi, Thomas from City on Hill Press. I had a follow-up question about the claim that the cola matter is out of the university's hands. So, what's different about this situation where negotiating a side letter agreement would not be possible?
I'd be happy to answer that. I do want to be clear. Neither one of us are saying, nor is anybody else saying, that side agreements don't exist. I do know, though, for example, there was a side agreement at Santa Barbara after the fires, right? Because those fires happened in the very late fall, requiring a postponement of fall exams into the winter quarter. That was an agreed upon by both sides, very time limited, very specific set of exigent circumstances that required, in a collectively bargained environment, some capacity to pay students beyond what had been their appointments in the fall, right? So no one is saying that side agreements don't exist. In this case, this side letter, to the extent I understand what the UAW or our students are asking for, right, is to ask for the Santa Cruz part of the contract to be reopened in order for Santa Cruz to bargain for a cost of living adjustment, right? That's not time limited. That takes a contract that's already closed and reopens it. And those are a totally different set of issues in our basic experience and context of side letters. So what is being asked for is very different from the history of side agreements, both at the UC and at many other campuses, right? So that's where, and as the Chancellor said, this is where the Office of the President has indicated that there will be no reopening of the contract. And it would take a reopening of the contract even to allow a side letter. Both OP and all the other campuses would have to agree for this. And this is something where the Office of the President has made very clear this is not going to happen.
So hypothetically, is there anything that's, legally speaking, preventing the ECSC to extend the housing stipend, the $2,500 housing stipend, to be in line with, essentially what the COLA organizers are demanding in terms of dollar amount?
Well, legally, no, I don't think there's anything that prevents that. I will say that we have difficulty understanding that math. And in fact, if you look at the New York Times article from this morning, it places the difference in rents between Santa Cruz and Riverside at about $300 or $400 a month, not $1,412 a month. So what we're trying to do is to provide a more equitable level of support for PhD and MFA students that allows them to pursue their higher education. The purpose of providing support for graduate students in those areas is really to help them receive their education, to achieve their degree, and some of those students do so by also helping the campus with the undergraduate teaching mission. But these programs are not restricted to teaching assistants or graduate student instructors, but are meant to support all graduate students in pursuing doctoral degrees and Masters of Fine Arts, which is the terminal degree in those fields.
So I just want to highlight that part of what the Chancellor is saying is we have students, particularly in their first year and in their last years, who are on fellowship, right? And what we are offering is exactly in that capacity as students, right? The employees, which are TAs and GSIs are our most advanced graduate students, are a narrower subset of our graduate students.
The other issue is the cost of providing the level of support that the graduate students have requested for all graduate students. I think in your analysis, you determined it was equivalent to a significant number of faculty lines.
What the students have asked for as $1,412 a month for all graduate students works out to about $18 million a year, which represents dozens and dozens and dozens of faculty lines.
Is there a hypothetical scenario if the university, UCSC, made it its mission to realize the full scope of the COLA demands? Is there any mechanism, hypothetically, by which the university could do that? Could they appeal to the UC Regents or the UC Office of the President to do that, or are their hands tied?
There is no mechanism to do that. And I think any appeal to the Office of the President or to the Board of Regents would be met with a firm no. You may know that the chair of the Board of Regents, John Perez, is a former labor organizer and union negotiator. John has spoken pretty forcefully to me about the wildcat nature of the strike and the difficulty of a wildcat strike with respect to labor and to unions.
So with the, with the strike activities yesterday and today, does the university plan to continue pursuing disciplinary actions against some of the graduate students who have opted to strike yesterday and today?
In the announcement that went out on Friday, right, where we announced that on Wednesday and Thursday of last week, there had been discussions first with UAW representatives present, and then second, when I met with the GSA co-chairs, we made an offer of a pause, right? That the management side, if you will, would pause disciplinary activity. That is not a rescission, but that we would pause, that the student conduct summons would be paused, and that the letters of warning that are a form of employee discipline would go unprocessed, would not go into employee files. And what we asked for in exchange was a pause, a delay of all strike activity. And we originally suggested a week because that would give some time to schedule meetings that could be enough hours to be really substantive discussions. And as some of you may know, the graduate students took that to a General Assembly meeting at the end of the day yesterday at the base of campus and voted not to take the offer. I'm disappointed in that. I really want to de-escalate this situation, and I really do want to be able to come together and talk about better enhanced means of supporting our graduate students as graduate students, right? I do acknowledge that my Friday notice also said that participation in this strike, right, may lead to additional discipline. Saying that is not meant to be a premise that it will happen, right? It's meant to actually be noticed that it may possibly happen. And at this point, that's all I can really repeat right now. I don't want to pre-commit to any particular course of action beyond what I was more than willing to say in writing, which is what I did on Friday.